Welcome back to the Believeland Prep Podcast, presented by Michael DeLazel and Co., CPAs and Business Advisors. Contact them at cpaneeds.com. I'm your host, Cameron Palmer. With me, as always, my co-host, Derek Dimmitt, and we are upon Week 8 of the high school football season. How are we doing so far?
Pretty good. We're at week 8, and right now the temperature here in Alliance is 79 degrees and it's sunny. It does not feel like football season yet. It does sound like by the weekend it should start dipping, and I think next week we're finally going to get that fall football weather that we all crave, or at least us bigger guys like you and I crave. So
Yes.
the cheerleaders
Yes.
and the band maybe not so much, but those that are built like linemen, we dig that. We dig the
Oh,
nice
yeah.
cool temperatures on Friday nights.
I get to wear like my hoodies and it kind of hides
Right.
the thickness a little bit. It's always the best. I can't wait to wear my quarter zip for the first time since
Yeah.
I don't know, like the summer.
Yeah,
I
you were
haven't.
wearing
I
that
mean, I've
thing
just.
when it was 90 degrees. Can't,
I didn't have a. I wanted to look company affiliated or like
yeah,
presentable. So I mean, I had the quarter zip, but then I got some polos. I was like, all right, we'll roll with the
better,
polos for now.
yeah,
So,
much more,
we're start
much
with.
more comfortable.
Yeah, we'll start with some high school football. Correct.
Yes, from week 7 action.
Yes. So, as you all know, I took the trip back to the alma mater. They get a win on homecoming at Richard A. Moss Field. It was good to see Chris Parati and all the guys get a win. The Cardinalskis moved to 4-3. They beat the Crestwood Red Devils 34-14. Our Division 5-7 Player of the Week, Troy Doman, presented by Daystar, goes 8 attempts, 113 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, and he threw one pass for 50 yards and a touchdown. So 163 total yards and 3 total touchdowns and 9 touches, which is about 18.1 yards per touch. I did the math yesterday. I was like, wow. All right. Reese Soltis, 9 attempts, 147 yards and a touchdown. Logan Strever caught the Troy Doman pass to go to the end zone. I mean, like literally right on midfield. Just kind of tossed it up there because the offensive game planning was really, really good from Cardinal. And this is not like a bias thing. They kind of took a page out of Garfield's book using like shifting linemen from one side to the other and like kind of doing like when the ball is snapped, but the quarterback, because I mean there was no real quarterback. There was like 4 guys who took snaps at quarterback. One fakes it, but then the one who actually gets the snap takes it and like takes off. Just a whole lot of like trickery and stuff, and it worked. I don't know if they're gonna repeat that this week against Grand Valley, but I know from those kids, they don't like Grand Valley. We definitely don't like Crestwood, and we really, really, really don't like Berkshire. So it'd be nice to get 2 wins over some smaller rivals after the loss to Berkshire for no doubt. Cal, in his start, he went 2 for 8 passing. He did throw an interception, but to be honest, he didn't really need to have his best day. But on the ground, he had an all right night, 6 attempts for 37 yards and a touchdown. As Cardinal just kind of took care of business as I'd hoped that they would. Obviously, it's always good to see the alma mater win. I know Kevin's very happy with how Garfield's doing. They continue to roll and they move to 8-0, which, my God, they're gonna go 10-0, and it's not even close. Anyways, that's all. Well, one last thing with last week, Nate Blasioli, and you're gonna go crazy when you hear this stat: 40 attempts, 227 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He was the only offense for Crestwood. He had a really big first half. On like 23 attempts, he had over 150 yards. That's like over like 10 yards a pop ish. But the Cardinal really slowed him down in the second half, taking him down like at the line of scrimmage, him getting 1 yard or tackles for loss. Held him to 5.6 yards per carry on the night. He did score in both halves. Obviously, the only scoring for the Red Devils were his 2 touchdowns. But man, 40 attempts. I'm not even sure if he was walking Saturday morning because he was taking a beating. Kind of what I expected from him, to be honest. You can't really game plan for a kid like that who just, no matter what you throw at him, he's gonna have his way. He had his way in the first half, not so much in the second half, obviously. a lot less carries in the second half. Well, not by much, but regardless, Cardinal gets the win on homecoming, and I'll let you break down the rest of the week. That was.
Yeah, yeah, the week that was. But yeah, real quick about Nate Blasio. We've had him as a player of the week a few times, so it's no secret what he's capable of doing.
Yeah.
But like you just said, he's pretty much the Crestwood Red Devil offense, and everyone in the stadium knows that he's getting the ball, and he's still able to go out there and put up over 200 yards. That's a
Yeah.
crazy
That's
thing.
crazy.
Like, you know, you know all week that was Cardinal. They probably had a picture of him up on the whiteboard in the locker room, like he's the guy. Stop him,
Yeah.
and he still went out
Stop him
there.
and
And
you're going to win.
yeah, which they did, like you said. A 200-yard day for a lot of people is career high or something, but for him, it's kind of the run of the mill, more or
Yeah.
less. But a great win for Cardinal. They're trying to get ready here, as all these teams are here, as we're in the final stretch of the regular season before we get into playoff time. But yeah, let's circle back to week 7. You covered Cardinal. We had the Godfather, Kevin Sleds. He was out at Wyndham as they dropped a heartbreaker, 36-33, to the St. John Heralds on their homecoming night. Um, Back and forth battle. It's hard to lose those games,
Yeah.
especially on homecoming. Your friends, family, alumni come out. You want to put on a show for them, and they did. Just ended up on the wrong end of it. Um, in other action, we had Michael Patterson. He was out at Akron Hoban as they welcomed their rival, or one of them rather, Walsh Jesuit. And they handled them pretty handedly.
Yeah.
57-7. Uh, Hoban is just a monster. They're at the top for Division Two, and or actually, excuse me, for their region, they're number one.
Right.
But Massillon's number one throughout the state. But they appear to be on a crash course for each other um, at the end of November, early December at Tom Benson Stadium. You got to play the games. The games all start out 0-0, but it's been since the opening weekend with the Northeast Ohio versus America challenge, seeing both of those teams. It's been clear that they've been on a collision course for each other, as they have been in years past. So we'll keep an eye on them. And wrapping up our Friday night coverage, Marshawn Powers was out in Strongsville as the Medina Bees visited Strongsville, and Drew Stoddard did what Drew Stoddard does, put up 6 touchdowns all in the first half. Game was pretty much over from there. Medina played a lot of their reserves in the second half. Strongsville made it a little bit more um, presentable for the box score and on the bottom line on Friday Night Touchdown on Fox 8, but still 56-21, Medina with the victory. And then on Saturday, Marshawn took in the Holy War as St. Edward welcomed St. Ignatius. There's some bulletin board material that we talked about in our group chat between Ignatius saying some things about St. Ed's, but St. Ed's went out there and, you know, other than their hiccup in Massillon, they're a team destined for a deep run as well. They took down their arch rivals 42-7. So that was our week 7 coverage for high school football. We did have 3 college games on Saturday. Starting off with Marshawn, he pulled double duty this weekend as he typically does on Saturday. The Marietta Pioneers paid visit to Trestle Field out in Baldwin Wallace in Berea, right down the road from the Browns headquarters, and it was the Marietta Pioneers avenging last year's loss, spoiling Baldwin Wallace's homecoming. Talking about homecomings, uh, it was Marietta 42, BW 21. Um, And then I was right down the road from me here at Mount Union as they welcomed Ohio Northern and the Polar Bears. Um, it started off slow. It was only 7-0 at halftime, uh, advantage to the Purple Raiders. But coming off a week where they defeated Muskingum 74-7, 7-0 at halftime is not common around these parts for the Purple Raiders, but they did pull away a little bit in the second half. Ended up 35-0 over the Polar Bears. A great defensive showing for the Purple Raiders, and then you had a game for college coverage on Saturday as well.
Yes, before we move on to that one, I want to give shout out to the players of the week for high school football.
Yes.
I made note of Troy being Daystar's Division 5 through 7 with this stat line. So our Brunswick Automart Divisions 1 through 4 player of the week goes to Rocky River quarterback Julian Patty, 22 of 28 passing, 378 passing yards, and 7 touchdowns. And if you thought that was crazy, just hear his season stats. 136 and 136 completions on 202 attempts, 2,241 yards, 34 passing touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. That's not even right. That
No.
he is having a year. He's a legitimate candidate for player of the year, and there's absolutely no doubt about that. Not I mean, like we talk about every week, we see some video game numbers. Well, I mean, that's the epitome of it. Not just in one game, but in a whole season. Obviously, Nate Blasio, as we mentioned, he's having a video game like season. But I think this might be the best performance we've seen out of a quarterback this year. I mean, 378 yards is crazy. The highest I've seen was 302 from Frankie Trinetti a couple weeks ago when they played Kenston. That shatters that. I mean, anyways, congrats to both Troy Doman and Julian Patty. We may or may not be seeing you guys in the playoffs, or we're probably listing you as our players of the week again here in the near future. Anyways, I took over for you, kind of a one-off. I went to Kent State. My soon to kind of be alma mater, if we talk about college, in about 4 years' time. Still got a long way to go. But they played the Miami of Ohio Redhawks, and the Golden Flashes fell 23-3. They did take a quick lead on a field goal on their opening drive, but from then on, it was all Miami of Ohio, and I just got to move on. Coach Burns said that he was disappointed with the effort, but there's a lot of good things to take away from it, and there's no doubt about that. Krishan McCray went over 100 yards receiving. He had, I believe, 10 receptions. So a big day for him. One of their playmakers, something that seemed very important to them was to get the ball in the hands of their playmakers and make them do why they're there. Like, let them do what they do. Let them show why they're there, which is kind of, what you always hope to do. Just hoping to bounce back. All of our college teams are on the road this week, so no college coverage for us this weekend, unfortunately. But now, do you want me to sway into volleyball?
Yeah, go ahead and set, bump, kill, dig, however you want to do it. Spike, forgot spike.
So, yeah, whatever. Call timeout, maybe. So started about a week ago. The last time you all watched us. Hiram, I went about 20 minutes that way to the Price Gymnasium at Hiram College. The Terriers fall 3-0 to the Allegheny Gators. Hiram had a chance to kind of make it interesting. They were pretty close in set one. Kind of let it get away from them. And then in set two, they had a big lead. And then Allegheny went on like a 14-3 run to just, really suck the air out of the gym. The student section across the way was ecstatic. The parents were very, they were very up and very animate throughout the second set. But the big Gator run just absolutely sucked the life out of the gym. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Volleyball's a momentum sport, and as soon as you lose it, not only does your team lose spirit. Coach Brittany Dye said that the wheels fell off, and that's what happened. Um, but there are some positive takeaways that they did. They held up for 2 straight sets. I mean, obviously in the second set they looked like they were gonna win, and the momentum switched, and it didn't end in their favor. But you can't dwell on the past. You just gotta move towards the future. And then on Thursday, part one of my coverage of the battle of my parents' alma maters. For those of you who do not know, my mom graduated from Kenston and my dad graduated from Riverside. The Kenston Bombers defeated the Riverside Beavers 3-0 last Thursday. I do want to note I did take volleyball stats for the first time, and when I saw the final ones on Max Preps the other day, I was like, okay, I didn't do too bad. So I'm going to read off the correct stats, not my stats, just so you all know, make sure everything's right. Avery Amstutz, I listed her at 10 kills. She had 11. Riley Rosnick, I listed her at 8. She had 10 kills, 4 aces, 4 blocks, 7 digs. I got Payne Pampusher's kills right. She had 10, 4 blocks as well. A lot of blocks across the board for Kenston. Reagan Simmons had 8 herself. So it took 2 of her teammates to equal the number that she threw up. Emma Branfield also had a pair of blocks. So just kind of an all-around good offensive and defensive performance for Kenston. They continue to be undefeated in WRC play. They just took down Willoughby South yesterday, and they look to continue their 9-game winning streak, looking to make it 10 tomorrow at Chardon, which is where I will be. If you have not seen my announcement post yet, go follow my Twitter and like and repost that. Thank you. Cam_Palmer55. And then a game I did not cover from last Thursday, but something I wanted to make note of because I have followed Berkshire relatively closely this year for volleyball. They played Kirtland, and if any of you in this area know how good Kirtland is, well, let's just say their football team had a winning streak that spanned from 2017 up until about 3 weeks ago. But since then, they've outscored their opponents 193-0. I'll also note that in the past 4 weeks. Anyways, back on track. Berkshire found a 4-1 win over the Kirtland Hornets to now tie atop of the CVC Valley Division. It's still tied. Kirtland had an interesting battle yesterday with Cardinal. I'll get to that in just a moment. But the stats, Maddie Smetana making her case for the News Herald Player of the Year for volleyball, making her case. Again, 19 kills, 11 digs, 3 blocks. Her sister had 11 kills, 4 blocks, 9 digs, and Marissa Risch led the team in assists and digs with 24 assists and 16 digs. A really big win for Coach Protz and the Badgers. Probably their most important win. Now you just kind of got to take care of business, and you just got to hope that somebody else in the division finds a way to beat Kirtland. Cardinal looked like they were going to for about 2 sets last night, and then much like Hiram, the wheels fell off. And now I will get into that one. Cardinal won set 1. And I want to give shout out to Ali Perushki for Cardinal. She had 21 kills to my count. And as you've noticed, it's pretty accurate. So I think we can trust that I'm right around where I should be with that. But 21. She had 14, I think like 16 through the first 2 sets. Only 5 through sets 3 and 4. Coach Ricky Sanders for Kirtland, he made some adjustments in the second set to, find a way to keep Ali quiet and not let her continue to keep, staying hot, because she was on fire for the whole first set and a good chunk of the second set up until the point where it's like Kirtland called a timeout, and then after it was all Hornets from then on out. Good adjustments. I made note of it in the post-game interview, and I told him like, hey, that was good. Like, because honestly, without that, I could be talking about a Cardinal win and how Berkshire would now stand alone atop the CVC. But Kirtland found a way to come back off a set 1 loss and to fight back in set 2. Cardinal had a lead for most of it. And again, as I mentioned, the timeout and the adjustments, and it just kind of played into their favor. So that's everything for me for the past week. Tomorrow, as I noted, I'll be going to Chardon to watch the Hilltoppers and the Bombers clash for the last time in the regular season, as obviously they're in the same region in Division 3, so they could potentially see each other again in the playoffs. Like I said, uh, Kenson's got that 10-game winning streak, or the 9-game, looking for 10. And then speaking of Berkshire, they're looking for their 12th straight win tomorrow as they host Cardinal at Berkshire High School. So we will move on to week 8. We got a little less of a busy week, but with what we got some really, really big games I'm excited to dive into here. I'll let Derek take it away before I bore you to death with endless information about my game.
I just wanted to let you know that you are acing the volleyball coverage this fall. You're
You're funny.
doing, yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate
But
that.
as for our week 8 coverage, we start off with Medina as they pay visit to the Cleveland Heights Tigers in a GC GCC battle. Sorry about that. But this one also has some playoff ramifications as well. Currently, both teams are in D1 Region 1. Currently, Medina sits at 6, Cleveland Heights sits at 4. So a lot of computer points on the field, on the line Friday night in Cleveland Heights. So that'll be a big one. Not only for the conference title, but as we just said, you know, getting into the playoffs, seeding sometimes plays a big role in who you're facing in the earlier rounds. If you're hosting versus going on the road, a lot can be decided over these next couple weeks. And when you're going up head to head, that's the best way to leapfrog if you're Medina, to try get up there into that upper echelon of the region, and that Division One, Region One is one of the meat grinders of Ohio. There are some very, very potent programs within that region, so you definitely want to have as good of a seating as possible. That'll be um, That'll be Marshawn Powers, I believe. I can't remember if him or Michael are doing that one, but I think Michael will be back at Akron Hoban as they welcome the Glenville Tarblooders. Glenville, they're currently number 2 in Division 4, Region 14. Hoban, as we made mention to a little bit ago, they're the number 1 team in Division 2, Region 5. With Massillon being number 1 in a different region of Division 2. But this is a big one. Glenville and Hoban both played the Saturday of the Northeast Ohio versus America showdown in Canton. Got to see both of them in person. Both of them looked great then, have only gotten better as the year has gone on. So that'll be a good one there in Akron at Archbishop Hoban. Then we have The Godfather. He'll be in Mogador to see Coventry take on Field in the Metro Athletic Conference battle. Coventry not having that great of a year. Fields battled some injuries. Right now, they're ranked number 17th in Division 4, Region 13. Again, it's the top 16 teams that make it to the playoffs. So Field needs to leapfrog a few teams to play past week 10. So they have a great opportunity here to get a win and pile a few together to try to go into the playoffs with some momentum. And then the final game that will be covered by the man, well, right or left, depending on how you look at it here on the video. But he made mention to Riverside being his father's alma mater and Kinston being his mother's alma mater. So he gets to see these two teams square off on the gridiron in the Western Reserve Conference battle. And take it away, Cameron.
All right, listen, ladies and gentlemen. I think I made the Kinston Chardon game very cool, kind of more hyped with my preview article. Obviously, I have not seen Riverside this year, so I don't know what they do on the field. I haven't seen what it's like, that kind of stuff. But the stats tell me everything that I need to know about this Riverside team. They are so good. Hands down, one of the best teams in Northeast Ohio. They are ranked number 2 in Division 2, Region 5, just behind Archbishop Hoban, I believe. Yes, that is correct as I look at our article over here. Thank you, Kevin, for that. Much appreciated. Mikey Maloney, I'm just going to go over some season stats for both teams. Just give you an idea of what are some names I'm going to be saying probably a lot for on Friday. Mikey Maloney, 83 of 131 passing completions per attempts, 1,056 yards, 8 passing touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. But where he gets you is his ground game: 72 attempts, 579 yards, and 14 rushing touchdowns, almost double rushing touchdowns as his passing touchdowns. Just insane. Jason Mackey, the running back, 83 attempts, 581 yards, and 7 touchdowns as well. If there's 2 guys that these Bomber linebackers got to be focused on, it's number 15 and the running back. I mean, these guys are going to look on paper, looks like they run all over people. And then Brady McKnight is Maloney's number 1 receiver, 29 receptions, 410 yards, and he has caught 5 of the 8 touchdowns from Maloney. He also has 15 attempts on the ground, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then a key thing, and against an offense that likes to pass, is that Brady McKnight has 6 passes defensed. That's going to be a big thing to kind of watch out for, is how well is that passing attack. How is it going to be? I'll say this, though. Carlton Beck has played 2 clean games in a row. He threw 1 touchdown, no interceptions at Chardon, and he threw 2 touchdowns, no interceptions against Mayfield last Friday at Mayfield. So he's got 2 clean games in a row, and if there's any game you need to play the absolute cleanest, it's this game, because last year Riverside hung 42 on them, winning 42-28. So this is going to be probably one of the bigger games in Northeast Ohio. I think they rocked Geauga County 2 weeks ago, beating Chardon. Well, now if you beat Riverside, you're going to shake all of Northeast Ohio, because Kinston went into the Chardon game as the underdog. They're definitely going to go into this game, despite being at home, despite it being homecoming, despite Sean Patrick being on their team. I think they're going to be the underdog. And I think maybe that's, if you want to be anywhere, maybe that's where you want to be, is the underdog. Let's shock the world. Let's show everybody that we are, we're for real. And I think they did that a couple weeks ago back at VASJ, and they kind of got that reality wake-up call against Lake Catholic, but now they bounced back with 2 big wins over conference opponents. So they're kind of finding their way back to those statement wins. This is probably going to be the biggest if they're able to pull it off. So Ethan Ross is the next leading receiver, 24 receptions, 294 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And 5 less receptions. He's got but over 100 less receiving yards. So Brady McKnight looks like kind of the big play threat that Maloney likes. 3 receiving touchdowns for Ethan Ross. And then, so about this defense, man, oh man. Their leading tackler is a corner, 66 tackles, Sam Salmonen. I believe I said that correctly. He has 14 tackles for loss, which is second on the team, 3 sacks, and 3 interceptions from, again, a corner. Just mind-blowing. Antonio Batigi, I believe I said that right as well, 30 tackles, 17 tackles for loss, and 3 sacks. Matthew Priest has 50 tackles, 13 for loss, and 3 sacks. And then West Wonderl, hope I said that right as well, 55 tackles and 10 for loss. So this is a team that gets a lot of tackles for loss. And that's something that I think is going to be on the minds of Grubich and the rest of the Kinston Bombers, because over the past couple weeks, Sean Patrick has not been producing. I made note of it. I'll get to that in just a moment. But we look here at Kinston's stats. Kaltenbach, something that kind of surprised me. I didn't realize that was the case. He has thrown less passes, but with more yards than Mikey Maloney. He's thrown more touchdowns, but he's thrown the same amount of interceptions. 81-52 passing, 1,092 yards, 10 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. Like I mentioned, he's played a couple clean games in a row. Very important heading into this week on Friday. Then on the ground, he has 51 attempts, 274 rushing yards, and 4 rushing touchdowns. Sean Patrick is 97 yards away from breaking the 1,000-yard mark. I think a lot of people might have thought maybe he'd have broken it by now, but if there's any week you need to go over 100 yards, it's for sure this week. 119 attempts, 903 yards, 15 rushing touchdowns. He had 2 against Mayfield. He had 1 against Chardon. He has 15 receptions for 144 yards and a touchdown as well. And then Tymir Cardona, in the past couple of games, has become the number 1 receiver stat-wise for Colton Bach. Dylan Krupp still leads them in receiving yards with 345, 3 touchdowns. Both Krupp and Cardona have the same amount of receptions at 23, but Cardona is now up to 326 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. He had 4 receptions for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns last week on Friday against Mayfield. So he's also now going to be playing both ways. He had an interception against Chardon, so we know he can play defense. But now filling in for Eric Lemons, who not tore his ACL, but he I don't remember what Grubich said it was, but regardless, they're going to try and rehab it, and he's going to try and come back for basketball. But his football season is over. It's not torn, so it's like the next step below that where you can still play within like the next couple months. I don't remember what it was. And then just some additional notes on Kinston. Charlie Thompson has 3 interceptions in the last 2 games, including a pick 6 last Friday. I talked about Sean Patrick kind of being a little sluggish as of late. Weeks 5, 6, and 7 combined, he is 238 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. But weeks 2, 3, and 4, 444 yards and 9 touchdowns on the ground. So kind of hoping he can pick it back up and get back to where he was through the first 4 weeks, because he had a really good day against Boardman way back in week 1. And then the Kinston defense was stout on Friday. Did allow 20 points, but they had 6 sacks, 4 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 recoveries, along with a pick 6. So defense is going to be a big thing leading up to Friday. And then as far as individual statistics go for the defenders, linebacker Josh Whelan has 55 total tackles, 22 solo, 2 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries, and 10 tackles for loss. Sean Patrick is the next on the team at corner, 40 tackles, 20 solo, which is very impressive from a corner, obviously. 3 interceptions and 1 tackle for loss. And Charlie Thompson coming in third at 39 total tackles. He does lead the team with 23 solo tackles, 2 sacks, 3 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, and 5 tackles for loss. So obviously, I just kind of laid it out on a silver platter for you guys. This is one of the biggest games of the season. It's going to be probably the tell-all for both teams. If Riverside comes in and smacks Kinston in the mouth, well, then we can tell that Riverside is legit. They're going to be what they were last year, but maybe even better, because a lot of people think that they did get better, and I'd like to agree. I think they did get a lot better, and it's crazy. I think you can go 11-2 last year and still get better this year, as they sit at 7-0 after defeating Eastlake North last week, 49-13. Both teams are 2-0 in conference play, so a lot on the line. Realistically, if Kinston is able to come away with the win, you beat Chardon and you beat Riverside, 2 of the toughest teams in that conference, arguably probably the 2 best teams in that conference besides themselves. So, not legitimately locking up the conference, but you still got to play Willoughby South and Eastlake North in weeks 9 and 10. So you still have to take care of business even if you win on Friday. But it would be setting them up on track to win conference for the first time in it's been a couple of years since, and the weekly appearance is here.
Yes, he is.
Well, that's all I got for this week. I hope none of you got bored listening to just the endless amounts of stats that have been presented to me. Thank you to the Riverside Max Preps and Chris Berger, the Kinston Bomber statistician, for all that they do and helping me bring you guys all the content in the world. We got anything else to add before we wrap it up? We went a little long 2 weeks in a row, so I hope you guys do enjoy.
Yeah, definitely grateful for your. Oh, did I mess with something? Is that fair? Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Hit a button here. Anyways, Yeah, just hard to believe that we're already to week 8 of the high school football
Wow.
season. Feels like was yesterday that we were previewing the season and going out to the schools and doing previews at their two-a-days. Um,
Yeah.
but here we are on the cusp of playoffs, and it's an exciting time to be a high school football fan, high school football player, high school football coach, fan, cheerleader, you name it. This is the time of the year that all those hours of practice starting in late July, early August, this is what you do it for. So, best of luck to all the teams, all the student athletes. Good health for everyone. Had some scary stories over the weekend.
Yeah.
So good health for everyone first and foremost. But yeah, that's about it for us this week. We will be back again next Wednesday, recapping week 8, getting you ready for week 9, and Cameron will have his volleyball minute for us. And
It's
yeah,
a long minute.
yeah, yeah,
It's a long
minute
minute.
or 5 or 10, or, but they
Yeah, something like
appreciate it.
that.
You do an amazing job with it, so it's it's great to hear you go through the stats as my son goes crazy because it's time for another snack. But go ahead and send us out, Cameron.
Thank you guys so much for watching or listening the Believeland Prep podcast presented by Michael DeLazel & Co., CPAs and business advisors. You can contact them at cpaneeds.com. I'm your host, Cameron Palmer. That's my co-host, Derek Dimmitt, and a special guest, his son, Tucker. Thank you guys so much. We'll be back in a week.